The WoW Mount Farm World Tour is back, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the mounts you can get in Northrend, the ones that make sense for the series at least anyway. In the previous episodes we looked at Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor and Outland, so if you missed those episodes there will be links in the description below for you to catch up. There is a lot of mounts in those videos, so if you are new to mount collecting I definitely would recommend them. Our first stop is going to be Borean Tundra, and off to the northwest of Borean Tundra we're going to find a massive land called Kuldara. You want to head there and we'll find the raid Eye of Eternity there. From Eye of Eternity we have a chance of getting one of two mounts, or both if you're extremely lucky. The first is the Blue Drake, which is on a 2 to 3% drop chance, and also we have the Azure Drake, which is also on a roughly 2 to 3% drop chance. As I mentioned, if you are very lucky you can run the raid once and get both mounts drop at once, but that's extremely unlikely, so good luck with that one. To find Eye of Eternity you want to head into the center of Kuldara, and there'll be two instances, one at the very bottom, one in the middle, and those are both dungeons, we don't care about those. Instead make your way to the very top and you'll find the raid entrance which will take you inside Eye of Eternity. This is very simple for a 120 character, and people kind of 90 to level 100 shouldn't have much issues either. Just DPS down the boss, click the kind of orb in the middle to start the fight, DPS down the boss, and then you'll have these ads spawn. Kill one if you're melee and you don't have many range spells, and a disc will drop. You can jump on the disc and then fly around and kill off all the other mobs, and then you'll be on a Drake, which will be kind of like a vehicle, and you basically just want to click, I think it's button 1 about 3 or 4 times, and then button 2 or 3 which will put a dot on the boss, and then repeat those until it's dead, but it should die pretty much instantly anyway. Once you're done with that, loot the loot, and hopefully you've got a mount. Now, while we're also in the area of Kuldara, just below Kuldara you'll find an area called Amber Ledge, and if you quest through this area if you've never done it before, and you'll progressively be getting wrapped with the Kirin Tor, and a little bit later on with the Wormrest Accord. And it's actually pretty important that we get to friendly at least with the Wormrest Accord, so I would recommend questing through their quests while you're here. It's a very straightforward quest line, just keep going until you hit friendly, and that will allow us to buy a tabard later on, yes tabard, later on in the video, which will allow you to gain reputation through grinding dungeons. So I would recommend getting it done here, or alternatively you can quest through Dragonblight instead. It's up to you, but either way you do need to get yourself to friendly with the Wormrest Accord. Our next stop on the tour is going to be Dragonblight, and smack bang in the middle of Dragonblight we're going to find the Wormrest Temple. So head there, and you want to head to the lower section which you can find in the massive crack in the ground. Head down there and you'll find the raid Obsidian Sanctum. From Obsidian Sanctum we can get the Black Drake, which is on a 100% drop chance from 10 men, or the Twilight Drake, which is on a 100% drop chance from 25 men. So pick your raid size, the difficulty doesn't matter, normal, heroic, etc. Doesn't make any difference, it's just the raid size that's going to impact which mount you get. So pick the raid size that you want, and this should be soloable for any character above level 100. So you could do 10 man on one character, bring in an ult and do 25 man on that character, or you can wait for the raid to reset next week and come in and get the mount that you're missing. So head inside, and the main thing you need to know is to not kill the 3 Twilight Drakes around the room. There'll be one to the left, one in the center, one to the right. Do not pull and kill those before you pull the main boss in the middle. If you do that, you'll basically prevent yourself from having any chance of getting the mount. They need to all be alive when the boss dies, or at least when the boss is aggroed, I should say. The trash you can kill off if you want to, there's not really much reason to, but if you're struggling you can kill off the trash before you pull the boss because it will all aggro. So pull the boss, deal with the trash whichever way you want, and then once the boss has been killed there'll be a chest in the middle, and that will guaranteed give you the Drake as long as you've left the Twilight Drakes around the room alive before you pull the boss. So now that we're done with Obsidian Sanctum, we're going to head outside back to the Wormrest Temple, and you're going to fly to the very top floor of the Wormrest Temple. There, as long as you've got friendly with the Wormrest Accord, which I was talking about earlier, you'll be able to speak to the Quartermaster and buy the tabard. With the tabard we'll be able to grind dungeons in Northrend to gain reputation, and then that reputation will allow us to purchase the red Drake from the vendor once we hit Exalted, and that's a quite easy Drake to get. What I would recommend doing is you want to do all of the dungeons on heroic in Northrend first, because that's going to give you a massive jump in reputation, and you could do that every day if you wanted to and you'll progressively get there, or you could do them all on heroic, and then once you've got your burst of reputation from heroic, I would recommend then farming Halls of Lightning on normal. It's the most efficient dungeon to farm on normal to get your reputation up. So it's up to you how you want to go about it, but that's the method I would recommend to get yourself to Exalted with the Wormrest Accord and purchase yourself the Red Drake. So now that we're done in Dragonblight, our next stop is going to be Howling Fjord, and there you'll find the area or the section called Upguard Keep, pretty much in the middle, you can't really miss it. So you want to head over there, and you want to head to kind of the north side of this where you'll find the entrance to Upguard Pinnacle. You want to make sure you are on Heroic for dungeon difficulty, and then head inside. From this dungeon, we're going to be able to get the Drake, the blue ProtoDrake. It's on roughly a 1% drop chance, and that's going to come from the third boss of the dungeon. It's a pretty quick run to do, luckily, so you're not going to be wasting too much time here. So run inside. If you are wearing the Wormrest Accord tabard, then I would recommend throwing that on and killing all of the stuff in between. But if you're not, then you want to be efficient and quick, and you can skip most of the stuff. You can actually skip the first 2 bosses. So we're going to run through the dungeon, we're going to skip the first and second boss, and then we're going to head over to the third boss. Once you're at the third boss, Skadi the Ruthless, you kind of want to run down the runway right to the end where the harpoons are, and you want to be killing off the mobs with harpoon in their name. Once they die, they will drop a harpoon on the ground, and then once Skadi is in front of the harpoon guns with his ProtoDrake, you can click the harpoons, those will fire and they'll do about 33% damage to him, so it will take 3 to knock him out of the sky. Once you've knocked him out of the sky, you'll be able to finish the fight and loot his corpse for roughly a 1% drop chance for the blue ProtoDrake. Once we're done here, we are fully done with Howling Fjord, so what I would actually recommend doing is Hearthing or whatever method you've got of quickly getting yourself back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar. The reason for that is there is the portal room now, and in the portal room there will be a portal to Dalaran in Crystal Song Forest, which is actually going to be our next destination. So it's going to get you there a bit faster, but if you want to fly or whatever, then head your way over to Crystal Song Forest. Once we're at Dalaran, there's going to be a mount vendor just in front of like the pet section, and this vendor will sell us 4 different mounts. One of them's different for Horde and Alliance, we'll get to that in a moment. But the first is going to be the Armored Brown Bear, which is 750 gold. Next is the Woolly Mammoth, which is 10,000 gold. Then we've got the Traveler's Tundra Mammoth, which is 20,000 gold, and this is a mount that has a mount vendor and also a repair vendor on it. So if you're after a very cheaper repair mount, this is definitely one worth picking up. Then we have for the Horde Blue Windrider mount, and then for the Alliance we have the Armored Snowy Griffin, and that's both of those are 2,000 gold. And the price of these mounts does come down if you have reputation with the Kirin Tor. So if you have an old character or whatever that is exalted with Kirin Tor, it is worth logging on that character just so you get a little bit of a discount. Now that we're done in Dalaran, our next destination is going to be Wintergrass. We're going to head over there. Now the tricky part about this zone is your faction needs to be in control of the zone for us to do what we need to do. And to get control back, you either need to wait for the battle to start and then take part and basically take control. It's normally you versus like 1 or 2 other people, but it is a bit of a pain to win. Or you can just wait for someone to go and do it for you and eventually your faction will be in control. But there's been times where it's been days until my faction has actually gotten it. Either way though, once your faction has control, head to the main kind of building just kind of northish of the area. And outside of the main gates will be a PvP vendor, and they will sell you the Black War Mammoth for 15 marks of honor. So do make sure you've got some marks of honor hanging around. If you don't want to buy that or you've not got the marks to buy it right now, then head inside and we'll be able to enter the raid, the Vault of Archivon, and killing each of the bosses here will have around a 0.5 to 1% drop chance for the Grand Black War Mammoth. So it is worth killing all 4 bosses because each of those are going to have roughly a 1% chance of giving them out. So fairly good odds honestly, having 4 chances per week per character at getting the mount. Eventually you will get it drop. Next up we're going to head over to Lazar Basin, and from there we can go through a quest chain which will lead on to dailies, which eventually when you hit Revered with that faction, you'll be able to purchase the Mysterious Egg, and from that egg you'll have roughly a 5 to 6% chance of getting the green ProtoDrake. So this is going to be fairly lengthy. The initial quest chain is going to be about 40 minutes of your time, so do make sure you are ready for this grind. So with that in mind, our first destination is going to be River's Heart, which is pretty much smack bang in the middle of the zone, and there you'll find an NPC called Tamara. Speak to Tamara and they'll give you the quest Part-Time Hunter, which will be to kill a named mob. You'll fly over, you'll kill the mob, and then once the mob is dead, you'll then have these NPCs stood in front of the mob's corpse being angry at you for stealing their kill, and they'll demand you to help them for basically repayment. So pick up the quest with them and go aid them. You don't have to turn in Part-Time Hunter anymore if you don't want to, Just make sure you are assisting the puppy men with their quest chains and their general stuff, and continue through that chain with them. Now, one thing to keep in mind for these quests, quite a lot of them with the puppy men and then later on with the oracles, which is the second section of this kind of quest chain, you'll have a side NPC that will run along with you, and they'll give you quests throughout the quest chain. Sometimes the NPC goes AWOL and you won't see them anymore, and you won't have the item in your bag to resummon them. If this happens, head back to the little camp, the little base, and there'll be an NPC. It'll always be the same NPC for the puppy men, and then there'll be a different one for the oracles. Speaking to them will allow you to get back the item to summon the NPC that's gone AWOL, so do make sure you have that item. It's probably worth getting it before you head out on the quest, because for some reason it just doesn't get given to you initially. So speak to the NPC, get the summon item, and then head on your way, and that way you don't have to fly back and forth and resummon the NPC every time, because it does get quite annoying. So head through that quest chain. There isn't really anything special you need to know, just keep following the quests, and eventually you'll be at a part where you need to kill like a floaty skeleton boy. I can't remember the name of the mob type, but he's like he looks like Kel'Thuzad. You know, he's floaty, he's all skeleton boy. What I would recommend doing for this part is using the soft foam sword, which is a toy, as this will bring the mob's HP low, but it won't kill it. And when this happens, there'll be two little NPCs in ice cubes. They'll break free, and you'll want to kill the puppy man. You'll kill him, keep the oracle guy alive, because that's the faction that we need. Kill the puppy man, and then once you're done with that, you'll have a quest to speak to the little oracle guy that you rescued. And when you speak to him, you'll then be friendly with that faction, but hated by the puppyman faction, which is completely okay. Once you're done with that, you'll head back to the oracle's base, and you'll have daily quests to do with them. And you just need to keep doing the daily quests until you hit revered. When you hit revered, you can purchase the mysterious egg, which after a few days will hatch. You'll open the egg, you'll have about a 5-6% chance of getting the ProtoDrake, and then keep repeating that until you do eventually get the ProtoDrake. So good luck. Once you're done with the initial quest chain and your dailies, the next stop for us is going to be Icecrown, and the first place there is going to be Icecrown Citadel. We're going to run this raid on 25-man heroic, and from the last boss, the Lich King, we're going to have about a 1% chance of getting the mount invincible. Pretty damn sought after mount, and one that I'm still sorting after, unfortunately. So get yourself there. Now this is a little bit difficult for characters that are level 100 still. It can be done, but it is going to be a bit trickier. So I would recommend if you are struggling to come back on a 110 character or above, and that'll make it fairly trivial. So run through the raid. It's fairly linear for the most part. There'll be a section after the Sarfang boss where you have 3 different wings to clear. Just run through them all, go through Plague and then Blood and then Frost. And once you're done with all 3 wings, teleport back to the center where you can access the wings. And there'll be this kind of section in the middle that you'll run to. That'll teleport you to the Frozen Throne where you can face off against the Lich King. To activate the fight, talk to Tyrion. You'll have to go through some RP and then kill him down. The main thing you need to worry about is a thing called, God, I can't remember, they're called some shadow traps, I think the name is actually. As these will be placed on the ground, it'll be like a purplish circle, and if you touch it, it'll explode, knocking you flying backwards. So either avoid those or make sure your character's face towards the throne so that you won't get knocked off the platform, but realistically just kill him down before they even happen, and that'll be no problem. Once the boss is dead, you can loot him for the mount, or potentially loot him for the mount. While we're also here, you could be doing the achievements for the 25-man Icecrown Citadel Raider achievement series, Glory of the Icecrown Raider, and that will give you the Icebound Frostbrood Vanquisher, I think it's called. Most of the achievements are fairly straightforward. There's one that you may struggle with as like a warrior, because it requires you to heal a boss. But you can get by that fairly easily by buying the bandage gun and also bandages from the auction house. If you buy the higher tier ones, you'll be able to do that no problem. And then the other achievement that's kind of tricky is the one that's for Lich King himself. I think I've been waiting a long time for this, as it requires you to basically have another thing present, otherwise it won't work. So you need either a trinket that can summon a pet, or you need to have a pet or a totem like a statue as a brewmaster monk. Either way, you need to have some other thing present that can count as like a second player. Otherwise, you won't be able to do that achievement. So do keep that in mind. Those are a little bit more trickier, but you can run through that on 25-man, get the Icebound Frostbrood Vanquisher. And then if you're eventually done with Invincible, you get that. You could also run the raid on 10-man and get the 10-man version done as well, which is like the same mount, but like a reddish tint. And that'll be another mount to your collection as well. Next up in Icecrown is going to be the Argent Tournament, and if you like dailies, then this you're gonna absolutely love the Argent Tournament because there's dailies for days. But there's also quite a lot of mounts you can get from this. You're gonna get about 14 to 15 mounts depending on your class. So quite a few mounts. Most of them are faction recolors. There's gonna be like a white skeletal warhorse, for example. But there is still quite a lot of mounts that you can bolster up your mount collection with, and there's some decent ones as well, some neutral ones like the Argent Hippogriff for you to get. So to get started with this, we're going to head over to the Argent Tournament, which is in like the top corner of Icecrown, and there just off to the west of the Argent Tournament you'll find the Argent Pavilion, which is a big tent. Inside there, the first NPC you'll see will give you the quest called the Argent Tournament. That'll send you over to your faction tent, you'll go through a quest chain, and you'll be asked to get 15 aspirant seals just after you kind of train to be a beginning kind of jouster or whatever. 15 seals will take you about 3 days to get. Once you're done with that, then you'll champion a faction and you'll have to get 25 valiant seals, and then you'll champion another faction. You'll get another 25 valiant seals, and I think you get like 5 or so a day. So that's going to take you quite a while. And then once you've championed all the factions, you become like a grand champion, which will then allow you to unlock even more dailies. And you'll find those dailies in your faction tent and over at the Argent Pavilion. And you'll have an option on some of these daily quests to get a champion's purse. If you have that option, pick it every single time, because that's going to give you a champion seal, and champion seals are the currency to buy some of the mounts. So you definitely want to get as many champion seals as possible by picking the champion's purses and doing the dailies over and over again. On top of that, you can get yourself a few extra champion seals by doing the dungeon here on Heroic every day. I think that's going to give you an additional 4, but basically just keep coming back, doing all the dailies you've got, repeating that until you have all the dailies unlocked, and then keep coming back until you have all the mounts. It's going to take a very long time. I think it takes like 50 days or something of doing all the dailies, or maybe even more than that, maybe like 6, I don't remember. I've been doing it for a long time to get all of the mounts, that's all I know, and I'm sick of seeing the Argent Tournament. But have fun if you do like dailies or you want to bolster your mount collection. Now that we're done with Icecrown, we're going to be heading on to our final destination, which is going to be Storm Peaks on our Northrend tour. And our first place in Storm Peaks is going to be Ulduar, which is a raid you'll find kind of north of the zone. You want to head over there, and from the last boss in this raid on No Lights, we're going to get the Mimiron's head. It's on about a 1% drop chance from the last boss, Yogg-Saron. While we're also here, we could do the Ulduar Achievement Raider series, which is going to award you 2 mounts for doing it. It's going to give you the Rusted ProtoDrake and the Ironbound ProtoDrake. Both look pretty good. Now, most of these achievements for this achievement series are fairly straightforward. You could literally read the achievement and have a pretty good grasp of what you need to do. The only achievement that's a little bit of a struggle is the Iron Dwarf Medium Rare. So what I'll do is link a video explaining that achievement specifically in the description below if you do want to try it, as that makes it a pretty foolproof method for a level 120 character. So you want to head through the raid, and as I said, if you're doing the achievements, just do the achievements. If not, we're going to rush our way to Yogg-Saron. Do that by basically running in a straight line. There's a lot of bosses in here you can skip. The only bosses we need to kill is XT Deconstructor, we need to kill Cologran, we need to kill, you kind of need to kill Araya, which is the cat leader. And you definitely need to kill Freya, Hodir, Mimiron, and Thorim. So what I would recommend doing is once you get to this section, kill off the cat leader, go kill off Hodir and Thorim, then do Freya, and then you'll be able to use the teleporter outside of Freya's room to teleport directly to Mimiron's room. Speeds it up a lot. Kill Mimiron, teleport back to the kind of Keeper section, and then head over to the Descent into Madness, which is the room to the left of Mimiron's. Head down there, and then you'll need to kill General Vizax, and then finally you'll need to kill Yogg-Saron. Now, when you defeat the 4 Guardians, Freya, Hodir, Mimiron, and Thorim, they'll appear up in the middle, the main section, and you can talk to them. Do not talk to them. Do not do it. Because if you do that, you'll ruin your chance at getting the mount. They all need to be kind of inactive, and if you talk to them, they become activated. So once they're defeated, just don't interact with them at all, and you'll be good to go. Head over, kill Yogg-Saron. There's nothing really you need to know about this fight. They've made it very simple to solo now. At one point it was kind of difficult, but just stand on top of the main NPC in the middle, Sarah. These weird monsters will come, you'll kill them on top of her, they'll explode. You'll move into phase 2, you'll kill the tentacles around the room until portals spawn. Click the portal, and then kill the brain, or run around and kill the ads in the room, and then the brain room will unlock. Kill the brain, don't look at the little eyes, because they'll drain your sanity. And then once you kill the brain, you'll be teleported out and you can finally kill Yogg-Saron, and then you'll have around a 1% chance of getting the mount. And with that, we're done with Yogg-Saron, and you'll have obviously your chance at the mount. And then you can be progressing towards the achievement series for this raid as well, which, as I said, I would recommend doing. Even if you don't get it all done in 1 week because you fail one, you're going to be coming back for the mount anyway, so you can just be progressively working towards it. And as I said, most of them are very, very straightforward, like literally just kill mobs in a certain order or kill it in a certain time. You'll get most of them done very, very easy, I guarantee it. So with us done with Ulduar, we're going to head outside, and this is where you can also find Halls of Lightning. Halls of Lightning is useful for us for 2 reasons. First of all, it'll be the place you can farm reputation for the Wormrest Accord, so keep that in mind. And it's also a great place to farm Relics of Ulduar, and Relics of Ulduar are going to be a currency we need for another faction in Storm Peaks. So if you don't want to buy them from the auction house, then Halls of Lightning is going to be your best bet for grinding them out. So do keep Halls of Lightning in mind while you're here. The next destination is going to be pretty much Storm Peaks itself, as we're going after a rare spawn that will drop the Time Lost ProtoDrake, and that rare is the Time Lost ProtoDrake. Now it flies around most of the zone, but it has 4 different paths it can spawn at and take. So it's up to you how you want to go about this, but Time Lost ProtoDrake is basically a rare spawn of a rare spawn. Either the Time Lost ProtoDrake can spawn very rarely, or instead Viragosa will spawn, and if you see that spawn, then you know Time Lost ProtoDrake won't spawn for quite a while. So the best bet is what I did to farm this, was I sit at a spot just below the Temple of Storms, where most of the paths kind of overline, and I'll have a map up now showing you the different paths that the Time Lost ProtoDrake can spawn at and take. As I said, there's 4 different paths. And if you stay near the Temple of Storms, you pretty much get an overlap of 3 of the paths. So what I would do was, I would sit where the overlap is, and then every once in a while I would go and fly around the other path that isn't overlapped, and then I'd go back and sit at this kind of spot as well. Alternatively, you could sit at his spawn locations instead, and that will give you, direct access to when he spawns, you'll get him instantly. That's what some other people do too, so if there are other people camping the spawn spots, then you're not going to see him fly around because he'll instantly be killed. So it's up to you how you want to go about it. You can pick one spawn spot and sit at it, or you can try and greed a little bit and sit at the overlap and do it that way. Either way, this one is going to take you quite a while to get unless you get extremely lucky, so just pick whichever approach you feel more comfortable with and then go about it, and good luck. Now for the final couple of mounts, and this is kind of going to be a 2-for-1 because you'll do 1 quest chain and that'll unlock 2 different kind of factions to get a mount from. So to get this started, we're going to head over to K3, and there will be an NPC called Gretchen Fizzlespark who will start the quest They Took Our Men, and you basically want to pick up that quest and follow the quest chain, and eventually it will lead on to you helping the Hildene, I think they're called, big blue women, you can't miss them. You'll help those, and eventually once you're done with their quest line, you'll unlock daily quests. Now these daily quests are quite buggy of recent, and you may not see them there. So what you need to do to fix this is either switch over to war mode or off war mode to change your phase and go back and see if you've got quests. If not, you need to get some people to invite you to another group so you can change layers and check again. But either way, you just need to keep jumping phases until you do see the world quest, or the daily quest I should say, as it does bug out fairly often. You could go there and you'll only have 1 quest instead of 2, so do keep that in mind, it is a little bit weird. But doing these daily quests will give you a bag, and from that bag you'll have the Hildene spoils, and inside the bag you'll have a 3% chance of getting the white polar bear mount. So once you're done with that, you'll continue the quest chain and you'll be sent up to like a temple. You'll find Thorim up there and he'll talk about how he wants to like reconnect with his people, and then you'll be sent off to help the Sons of Hodir. And these are big giants in the kind of other side of the zone. Now the quest is once again fairly straightforward, but there is a point where you'll be killing these like fire elementals, and you need to be making sure you're looting everything because one of the NPCs there will drop an item, and that is a continuation of the quest. It's like a quest item. So do make sure while you're following the quest chain you are looting everything, as you don't want to miss this very important quest item. Continue with the chain, and then eventually you'll be neutral with the Sons of Hodir. When you're at that point, you can then start handing in the Relics of Ulduar, which I was talking about earlier. And then once you hit Exalted, and I think also Revered, I'm not too sure if the Ice Mammoth is Revered or Exalted, either way, grind in these Relics of Ulduar, you'll be able to buy the Ice Mammoth for 1,000 gold and the Grand Ice Mammoth for 10,000 gold. And as mentioned earlier, the best place of farming the relics of Ulduar is either the auction house or Halls of Lightning. So get your wrap up with those, buy those mounts, and then that is us done. That is the end of the Northrend tour. And I apologise for this one. I am feeling a little bit ill, so I've tried my best to be the normal kind of commentator for these videos, but give me a little bit of slack on this one as I am coming down with the old winter cold. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.